Okay, so I will call to order a meeting of the Hartford Selectboard at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone wish to lead us tonight? John, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with indivisible justice.
And justice for all.
Sorry. My mind wandered for a moment, sorry.
So you
Dare I
got
say
there.
senior moment?
I'd say so.
It's time for retirement.
Time for retirement.
Okay. No business tonight as a local liquor control board, nor the cannabis control board. Order of agenda, I believe we have one thing to note.
Yes, the originally posted agenda had a discussion of an MOU between the town and the West Hartford Library trustees. I had an email from Scott Hauser over the weekend suggesting that maybe this item was not quite ready for select board action because he had just received further proposed revisions from the trustees. So that'll be rebooted for a future meeting.
Okay, thanks for explaining that. And no problem at all. Any other comments on the order of agenda for tonight? Okay, seeing none. So we will move to public comment. We'll start with folks in the room. Anyone is welcome to come up to the microphone, make a comment. You'll have 3 minutes. We'll provide a brief response if appropriate, or try to give you information about where you can get more of a response if needed. And yeah, we appreciate your input. So whenever you're ready, Jeanette, just remember to introduce your name and town.
Yep, Jeanette Sharkey-Potter, White River Junction. First, I want to thank the Hartford Police over the last week for being so responsive, kind, and respectful in all of their interactions, as well as the board. I think I've gotten a couple emails back from a couple board members, which was great to have someone even say, like, I hear you, was wonderful. And I also thank the Public Works for a super quick response to a downed tree in the South Main parking lot. As many of you know, I live on top of that hill, and I've been griping about the digging into the hill and the falling trees for a long time now, and I still will continue to do that. At the bottom of the hill, in past years, people have worked their way up the hill basically into my backyard with housing encampments, and then once it comes on my private property, it becomes my monetary responsibility. Okay. Currently now we have the start of a encampment kind of situation with open drug dealing happening and a lot of violations of multiple town ordinances that are publicly posted there. And my comment is the system is not working. So there's still trash spread out on the hill. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, it's her again with the trash. Somebody has to pick it up. I reached out to Department of Public Works. It is on Town of Hartford property. So Town of Hartford is financially responsible for any trash, littering, whatever violations, health code violations there. And so the problem becomes who enforces it, who's going to like pick this stuff up. No one has come to pick it up. There is also a tree leaning over precariously over this parked car where people are staying. They didn't even notice that a 60-foot tree had fallen within 20 feet of them the night before. So I wonder at what point does it become the town's liability? If these people are sleeping in their car and a tree falls on them, at what point is it the town's liability that they've been called multiple times about a pit bull off leash in that parking lot and somebody walks to their car late at night? At what point is it the town's responsibility when someone overdoses from the drugs being dealt from that car when there is people who are not responding and addressing the issues? And I want to make it clear the police are responding. I think it's a little bit higher up perhaps than the frontline workers. So just leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing these thoughts. I know there's been some email communication as well about concerns about the South Main Street parking lot and some people that have been spending time there. There was an email from Lieutenant Funari. I'm not sure if that went to Jeanette. John, maybe you could.
I don't believe so, but
Okay, yeah, so
I can forward it if you'd like.
Yes, that would be great to forward because I know it was forwarded to another resident. There is some new information that I heard from you tonight, like regarding like the tree. So perhaps John, you could follow up with
I sure will.
DPW about yeah, hazards related to trees in that area. Thank you. Any other comments in the room tonight for public comment? If not, we'll check if there are hands online. If anyone's online, give you a few moments to raise your hand if you'd like to comment tonight. Okay, not seeing any comments online. Okay, we will.
Oh, nope,
Oh, all
got
right.
one.
Someone came in under the wire. Go ahead.
Heidi.
Go ahead, Heidi. 3 minutes and please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Good evening. Heidi Due to White River Junction, Vermont. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I have one quick question. When are we swearing in the new town manager? And I guess that's my only question.
I had heard from the HR director that that will be taking place Monday at 8:30 a.m. I don't know what sort of event is planned or has been requested by anybody. Typically, that simply consists of the new town manager, as was in my case, going to the clerk's office and signing an oath document.
Okay, yeah, so the official transition will be next Monday, the 27th. And there's some overlap and training going on this week between the two town managers.
Yes, I'll be mentioning that in the town manager's report.
Yes.
One thing I do want to mention is that during this gap between my final day Friday and Gail's first day Monday, Chief Cooney has consented to serve as acting town manager in case anything should arise.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you for that.
So if I may,
Oh,
are we
okay.
not having a ceremony swearing in, or?
Sounds like we don't have information about that now, but I think we can see if John will want to speak with HR and see if there's any public event associated with
I'd be
it.
happy to consult with Gail as well.
Okay,
and see
okay.
what she might have in mind. I know that doesn't have to be the same way for Gail as it was for me, but I know that within a week or so of my starting, there was a nice reception over in room 2, with some refreshment and a lot of handshaking. That could take place again, but I'll be happy to look to select board leadership for any suggestions you might have.
Okay, great. Great, thanks for putting
Thank
it out there, Heidi, and we'll follow up with a public announcement if there's going to be a public event. All right. Other public comments? Okay, closing public comment. We'll move on to select board comments and announcements. Anyone have an announcement or comment they'd like to bring up and start us off with this evening? Oh, okay, we'll start with Ashley down there and then go to Tim.
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to say that I was sad to miss the meeting where we announced the new town manager. And just to say another thank you to John for all of his service and steady leadership, and a big congratulations also to Gail. And that I'm, sad I wasn't there for that meeting, but very excited and also grateful to other select board members who put in a lot of time through that process to make it happen smoothly.
Great, thanks Ashley. Tim.
Kind of in an awkward spot here, but I'm gonna go for it anyway. Janet, I really appreciate you coming in tonight. I, on multiple occasions, have expressed my concern and frustrations with us as a community being able to come up with new strategies and new solutions to address some of the community problems that are very real. And I am not pointing fingers on anyone. There have been some new efforts, I know, within the police department, within different departments to address and cure some of our challenges as a community, but I think we need to do better work. And I'm willing to step up to that charge. And I really feel like we do on occasion silo ourselves. That is to say that everybody has a lot of pressure and a lot of stress within their different departments on what they're doing. But I just think we're somehow missing some opportunities to take on some of these challenges collectively as a community. And I really think that we need to visit that. I'm not sure what that should look like, whether we do like a community-wide forum. I don't want it to be a complaint session. I want it to be a productive and meaningful dialogue around some of these issues that I don't think we process and handle well, around poverty, around drugs, around all kinds of things. I had an incident today where there was a situation in downtown White River. I tried to address it through proper channels. It was not processed or dealt with. It's happened many, many, many times for me as a citizen, not as a select board member. I want to be clear with that. And I think we're not doing the best work here. And I truly believe that we can do better work. So I'm sort of pleading with the community at large, all the different agencies, all the different departments, that we put our thinking caps on, we work together, and we come up with much better solutions and reactions, and hopefully proactive reactions to some of these challenges that we face as a community. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Linda, any comments?
Thank you. I guess I will address my comments to the public, but also to some degree to the board. I spoke at our last meeting thanking the public for their patience during the town manager selection process. And I want to ask them to also be patient in the next months as the transition unfolds. I completely hear what Tim, you just said. And I do think we have opportunities and we can make changes. There is, however, a lot of pressure, and I think we just need to be realistic about allowing some time and being patient for this to unfold. I've been hearing over the past week or so a lot of expectations that are really quite high. The new town manager will deal with this. The new town manager will deal with this. I'm excited because she's going to deal with this. We're all excited, but we need to be realistic. You can swap out the admiral that's running the aircraft carrier, but you still can't turn the aircraft carrier on a dime. Like, we've got systemic challenges that are beyond the scope of Hartford. And even within the scope of Hartford, we have, federal and state statutes and codes and regulations, and then ordinances and so on and so forth. And it's a challenge to navigate those. And I just want to remind everyone that it's going to take some time and we have to be patient. So success isn't going to, you're not going to have a clear signal of what success looks like in the first, 30 days or something, or even less. So that's my plea, is to let us work on this transition, which is going well already. I'm quite happy with the way things are unfolding, but patience is going to be key here in the first few months. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Mary.
Not a serious topic, but hopefully a happy and community-wide excitement about Pride events. There are lots going on, and there's parade this Saturday. I think I've been in the parade 5 times and had a lot of fun, blowing bubbles and doing all kinds of crazy things and seeing wonderful people having a wonderful time. So check out, there have been ads in the newspaper, and I'm sure John might have some information, but there's a lot going on during this Pride Week.
Thanks, Mary. Mike, any comments or thoughts?
I have no comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Well, yeah, I'll just wrap up. I really expressing gratitude to all the comments, but yes, particularly Tim and Eric, and yeah, I agree that there are major concerns that we want to sort of keep moving forward with and thinking broadly and incorporating as many voices and perspectives as possible as we like try to tackle really challenging issues, some of which are not at all specific to Hartford, but they really impact our community. And as a community with a lot of passionate residents and a lot of really smart people, I know that we can keep working together on building the place that we want to live and be for a long time. And to echo Eric, it does take a lot of time and patience and input from a lot of different people. So thank you for both things, for your input and for your patience. Okay. Now we can move on to appointments. Just the only one is to consider the reappointment of David Barrell to the tree board for a 3-year term. And are you present? Oh, excellent. Thanks. Thanks for coming in. As a reappointment, you're not required to make any statements, but if you don't mind coming up, and since you're here, just introducing yourself, your village of residents, and a couple words. We saw your application, but anything you'd like to share about your work and why you wish to continue on the tree board.
Thank you. My name is David Barrell.
Sorry.
And, been in Quechee since 1978, I guess it was. And I'm on the Hartford Tree Board presently. And I came tonight because I didn't want to just accept a reappointment. I wanted to put a plea out there. We need some more help on our committee. We have 2 vacancies now. We do a lot of fun stuff, mostly behind the scenes. And the most evident one is the tree sale we have right out here in the parking lot, and that goes over every year. And we run a nursery too, out by the ball fields and Maxfield, and adjacent to Northern Nursery. And we have our own rootstock, and we bring those trees, we sell them, or we replace trees that need to be replaced. And Hartford just got reappointed as a tree city, and a lot of people aren't aware of that, but it takes a lot of us behind the scenes work to get it done. We meet once a month. There's a handful of us that are involved now. We could use more help, and thank you if I get reappointed. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Barrell? Ashley?
Yes.
Hey, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sure, this is my typical question or response when I hear that committees are looking to recruit, which is that if your committee has thought about reaching out to the town manager to see if he can get our communications specialist, JD, to do some online posting about the committee. And if you haven't done that already, I would encourage you to do that, because posting on Facebook and Instagram and the listserv might get some people excited, and maybe highlight some of the cool things we were just talking about.
Well, anything we can do to put another foot out there that people will see what our activities are. And I forgot to mention, Jeff Arnold is our tree warden, and our tree board works with Jeff. We don't direct him, but we work with him in concert, and he works with a lot of the tree people in the area, and certainly had the hands full lately with all the tree work that was done. And I experienced it firsthand out in Quechee and living in Fairway Village, and we had a couple of big trees come down, and we're gonna take down about 7 more because it's dangerous. And that's what it comes down to. And you look around, and we have such a lovely growth of trees for a long time around here. But my God, they get big. And when you look up and you say, that's on the bank, if that came down, it's not pretty. So we're on top of that all the time, and with the Department of Public Works, they're responsible for the public area. But if somebody, this woman mentioned some tree problems.
Oh, I'm applying right now.
Well,
I'm all about it. I'm on the tree brigade too.
oh, good. Well, the first call you would make is to Jeff Arnold, the tree warden. And if he deems it if it's in the public domain and he deems it dangerous, then it'll be taken care of. But lots of times people say, oh, I don't like that tree there or something. Well, that's a big deal, but it's gotta be dangerous, for us to be concerned about it. So, thanks for reappointing me, and I hope somebody will step forward to get the word out that we need more help.
Sounds like your recruitment efforts are already working, so excellent. Is there another question, Mary?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you've seen a lot of the emerald ash borer in Hartford and.
Well, I'm not an expert on it, and it's technical, but I think it was 3 years ago, we first identified it in Hartford, and we treated, I think, 7 trees up near the high school. And we've had some success with it, but the problem is it's expensive.
Right.
And it has to be done on a regular basis. It's not, oh, okay, we'll go treat that tree. And it's serious, and it's spreading throughout Vermont, the whole Northeast. But the emerald ash borer, tiny little thing, and it gets in there, and it's, I could walk up to a tree and not even see it unless I really knew what I was looking for. But to answer your question, we're aware of it, and we try to address it.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I'm ready. And we'll probably come back and ask for money at some point. Okay,
Any other questions?
thank you.
Okay, if not, then yeah, you can take a motion for the reappointment.
go ahead.
Okay, Mary, thank you.
All right. I move that the Select Board reappoint David Barrell to the Tree Board for a 3-year term beginning July 21st, 2026 and ending July 20th, 2029.
Second.
Thank you. Second from Miranda. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, great, thank you. The appointment passes. Thank you for
Thanks,
coming in,
David.
Mr. Burrell.
Thanks so much for your
Appreciate it.
service.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah. Okay, we can move now to you, John, for the town manager report.
Thank you, Ida. First, to take the opportunity as to what we were just discussing. I'm planning to spend my next 2 or 3 days, at least in part, with incoming town manager Gail Ostrout. I've established a preliminary checklist. She's posed a series of questions, which I've done my best to answer for her. And I'm sure we will be discussing both of those things in the days ahead. Needle collection is a topic in town. The issue of discarded syringes or needles and public safety is an issue that's generated concern among town residents. Some have advocated for installing needle collection containers on town property. Others have suggested the town staff collect data on the number and locations at which needles are found. On Monday, June 29th, I met with the police chief, HPD outreach Wolf Fernari, HPD crime analyst Amy Wunderlich, community nurse Katie Williams, assistant parks and rec director Jay McDonough, and town health officer and deputy health officer to discuss these topics. The consensus was that installation of additional needle collection boxes or kiosks on town property is a sensible idea from a public health and safety perspective. HPD, in fact, has proposed this in a bid for some of the town's opioid settlement fund grant money. Should that effort not succeed, staff could certainly be expected to seek funding within the HPD's budget in the coming budget cycle. Community conversations over these matters will of course continue as the opioid abuse epidemic continues to impact all of our country. I have a comment or two on the Coolidge Block redevelopment. Brief update. Town staff continues to engage with the owner of the Coolidge Hotel block, i.e. David Briggs, and a would-be developer known as Adam Grounds of Copper Acre through the town's public-private partnership process. In this dynamic, proposals are made, questions are asked and answered, issues are researched. As you know, a grant-funded parking and intermodal transportation study is underway, and this should help to advance the dialogue on project scope, feasibility, and cost. It is expected that staff will recommend further select board involvement in these discussions in coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. Finally, Select Board Member Kraus asked that I address timetable for Park and Ride lighting project. I've heard from Dana Clausen today as follows, and I'm just going to quote from his email. He was just on the phone with CED, which is a solar lighting company, and they have everything they need to get him a second quote. They told Dana they should have that to him first thing Wednesday morning. Dana says once he has that, we can decide our path forward. If we can configure the lights in a way that meets the needs at the Park and Ride for under $20,000, it's a pretty straightforward path. If, however, the cost is over $20,000, Dana will need to either put out an RFP or get a select board waiver. Either way, Dana is hopeful we'll be able to acquire the equipment by early September. Also, once we've identified what equipment we are using, he can proceed and ask V-Trans for a permit to work in their right-of-way. Dana's experience, and my own I should say, is that working with the state on such permits is pretty simple and routine in most cases, often with a permit request being turned around in a day or so. So the takeaway, Dana says, is that he's hopeful he can have the equipment and permits in hand in early September, and DPW will be able to install later that month. Thank you.
Okay. Follow-up questions for John about the town manager report? Yes, Eric.
Thank you. Thanks for that update, John. Two additional questions, and I apologize, I didn't email this to you earlier, but it's out for a bit today. The Village Center's community engagement, this is an initiative by Planning and Development. What can you tell us about that? And if not much, then that's fine. We'll take it up maybe at a future meeting. And then parking meters. I know that the signage was the current, currently what we're waiting on, what the town was waiting on. I was wondering where things stood with that.
As of stand-up, our weekly meeting with department heads yesterday, Lori had reported that the signage she was waiting for has arrived, and she's planning to, I think, install the final 1 or 2 kiosks in the coming days with the help of DPW presumably. With regard to Village Center community engagement, what little I know is that Lori is working with community leaders in each of the 5 villages to help them move forward with their own kind of organic beautification efforts and community development efforts to try to take advantage of the identities of each particular village and help support and enhance their efforts at cohesion.
Great, thank you. That initiative would be, I would appreciate learning more about that from Planning and Development at some point. With regard to the parking meters, if I may follow up, do we then have a target go live date, and what is sort of the rollout plan? How are we informing the public? I mean, people have been seeing the kiosks for a while. And
Yes.
so they're going to go live, and we got to get the word out, right?
I don't have a go-live day, but certainly the plan is to, once we have it, to do massive communication about it. I know Lori's talked with JD about just what kind of messaging is appropriate, and I think they have it in the can. It's just ready to throw the on switch when we're ready to do so. I would note that I think Lori is expected later this evening, and perhaps we can hold that question for her.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, other follow-ups for John? Okay. seeing any questions, further questions. So thank you, John.
Sure.
All right, we don't have any committee or commission updates this evening. So we'll move on to our action items under board report, motions, and ordinances. First item is about a resolution designating July as Parks and Recreation Month. Do we have a presenter?
I believe we were expecting Jay McDonough, the Assistant Parks and Rec Director, but this item is certainly something that can speak for itself. It's something that the town typically does on an annual basis, just supporting the Parks and Rec Department, noting the many ways in which parks and recreation are important to the health of any community, and particularly that of Hartford. And full of whereas clauses pointing out all the different ways in which we benefit from a robust Parks and Rec Department, and asking that the Select Board of Hartford resolve that July is recognized as Park and Rec Month for the town.
Great. Okay, I agree. It does seem self-explanatory. So if someone has any comments on this, is there?
Read it into the record.
Yeah, we'll read it into the record if there's no other discussion needed going into that. Okay, yeah. Are you willing to do that? I thought that's what your hand was saying.
I just wanted to confirm we're going to read it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
I shall do so.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm pleased to read the designation of July as Park and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the town of Hartford, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and alleviating illness such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Park and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the town of Hartford recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Hartford Selectboard that July is recognized as Park and Recreation Month in the town of Hartford.
Thank you, Eric. What is the process? Do we take a second to the,
I think so. Eric, I'll
the-
count Eric's comments as a motion.
okay, that
Thank you.
Eric moved this be resolved.
I'll second that.
Okay, Tim gets the second. Any discussion? I'll just say that I completely agree with every whereas in this statement, and that parks and recreation are such a crucial and core part of our thriving community. And I'm grateful every day that we have parks. With that, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, passes with full support from the board. Now we are going to go to a section of the agenda which is focused on contracts for DPW.
Did we determine that we couldn't necessarily bundle these? That is to say, B through E or you know.
Good question.
They're different companies.
Yeah,
I
think
understand that, but would it be appropriate to just, you know,
Move them as a
in the
slate.
interest of efficiency, to just suggest that,
we can,
you know, they're all
they could be
commodities
presented
contracts?
together and moved as a slate.
Is that frowned upon?
I don't see a reason against it as long as it's made clear what it is you're approving. So for example, I know there was some interplay between DPW and Eric about,
The aggregates and so on.
right.
I mean, I get that. I mean, I'm trying to gain
Yeah.
some efficiency,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah,
fine.
absolutely. Maybe this is something, I feel like the town clerk's office has some expertise around when it's appropriate to bundle and when it's not, so maybe it's something we can follow. Or
VLCT could also
VLCT
have
as
something
well.
to say.
Yeah. I think that would be a good, so yeah, I would say maybe just in the interest of caution, maybe not doing so tonight, but definitely if John,
Yep.
or Gail, whoever could put a, question to VLCT about, if with, a set of contracts, would that be doable?
And I just want to comment, what I'm always struck by these, for a lot of these things, and I really appreciate the department's doing this, is that they do detailed analysis, they present the information, they've done the research, and I respect that process. So I think that, yes, we're the governing body, we need to click that through, but to the extent we can make it a click through as opposed to an exhaustive process, I encourage that. So.
Right, with the understanding that of course we get all the information ahead of time, so we're able to review all the bids.
Correct.
And then make the decision in the meeting.
So then the next question is, do we have someone from the Department of Public Works online?
Is there
I
someone
don't see anyone in
online? Is it,
person.
Todd or Jeremy?
That's of concern. Perhaps we want to
Would it be
pass.
someone else other than?
I don't think so.
Okay.
If you're from the Public Works and you're online, raise your hand.
I assume there are people online, as in it's not a problem with getting connected.
Yeah, there are people online.
People listening on Zoom.
Perhaps we can pass over those items and I can inquire.
Okay,
We'd have to bring
It's because we're a little bit ahead
we
of
are a little,
schedule.
Yes.
we're a little ahead.
Lori down here. She's, I know, upstairs.
Okay, so we don't have a DPW representative at the moment. We may do a minor rearrange of the agenda to see if Lori is available to talk about the Downtown Vibrancy Grant Award before we move on to hopefully cover the DPW pieces.
We have an online comment?
Okay, someone's hand is up?
Yeah.
Okay,
Kim?
Hi there, can you hear me?
yes.
Hey, you guys. I just want to, while you're waiting for Lori and in between, I had just a comment regarding the vibrancy grant I wanted to throw out there and appreciate the grant that we were able to use in part through the Downtown Business Association for this past fiscal year. So I was hoping to encourage you to vote in favor of the vibrancy grant for the next fiscal year. And to just also chime in that relating to the conversation that Jeanette Sharkey brought up and Tim's, I know there are a number of coalitions that are already in part working on a lot of the conditions that we're experiencing particularly in downtown White River Junction. And the members of the White River Junction Downtown Business Association are currently coordinating to do some sort of training sessions around de-escalation and other areas for which we can, as sort of the members of the workforce in the downtown, most, what was that? You're still there?
Yeah.
We're still
Okay.
here. Yeah, I
Oh,
think we
sorry.
should keep that, sorry to interrupt. But yeah, I'm just realizing we're a little bit out of order in how we're managing the agenda tonight. And I appreciate that you chimed in because we had a little pause. But yeah, if you could share any final thoughts on the agenda item related to the Downtown Vibrancy Grant. And it'd be great to hear your other thoughts if you want to come back during
And
the
can you
public
just-
comment period.
And can you
Yes.
also say your name and
Oh,
town?
yeah.
Yeah, we sorry.
Yes, Kimsey's a White River Junction and also current chair of the Downtown Business Association of White River Junction. So I'll just leave it there and
Okay.
listen. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Lexi, are you doing, okay, great. So I think since we don't have a DPW person, we'll go to your agenda item if that's okay. We'll just double check with John. Looks like he was trying to call. Should we go to Lexi? Okay. Great. So this is item F, about the Downtown Vibrancy Grant Award.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. You all have the grant application and all the things that have been done in the past couple years. It's a relatively new grant program. And since Hartford officially established White River Junction as our designated downtown through the state program, $25,000 non-competitive award. We just have to submit a work plan and do a midterm report and a final report. So yeah, pretty straightforward. There's no town matching funds, but the town is also, always welcome to contribute in other ways. And we are working on also expanding the DBA's own fundraising efforts so that we're not 100% relying on the grant itself. Yeah, so any questions from anyone?
Great, okay. It's always good news when there's grant funding available, especially for important activities. So yes, Tim.
I got a couple questions for you guys. Kim had just mentioned this concept of the DBA, and I know that, I've been kind of involved with downtown for a long time, and traditionally, the original kind of body that was relied upon for kind of downtown engagement was HDC, and it kind of shifted to the DBA. And I'm just a little concerned in the sense that what's our level of assurance that the DBA is truly representing the stakeholders of downtown White River?
Yeah, and that's a good point. We are up to, I believe, 27 members now. We were hoping to hit 30 during our membership drop, but they only added 3 new ones in February. But we are still new and trying to get the word out. I believe this is the second or third year we've done this setup with the chamber, and then they are kind of the administrative arm of the DBA. But totally understand your point. We are always trying to get new members and get the word out, because I think part of it is just some businesses don't know it exists. And like you said, we have switched from the HDC to the DBA, that the HDC isn't super active anymore. So yes, always working on that and expanding it and making sure people know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a narrative here that says, strengthen member knowledge and skill in areas relevant to downtown vibrancy, such as conflict resolution. Can you explain to me what that actually means?
Yeah, so the DBA has been talking about potentially doing conflict resolution or de-escalation training. Putnam's Vineyard specifically has had a lot of issues with people stealing things off their porch or going out to the dumpsters at night and encountering kind of some scary situations. So there has been some interest in DBA members of wanting to do a sort of de-escalation training for when you're put in dangerous situations.
Okay.
Other questions for Lexi at this point? We'll stay with board questions at this point. Okay. We can make space again. We heard one public comment. If there are, we can make a lot of other space for public questions or comments on this topic. If there are any additional hands. Heidi, go ahead. You'll have 2 minutes. Please introduce yourself.
That was an error. I apologize.
Oh, okay. No problem. No problem. Okay. Any further discussion from the board needed before we take a motion on this?
If I could make one more comment, so I know I've been a squeaky wheel for a long time, but my emphasis is that there's been some really wonderful activity in the downtown. Those planters are incredible. Like, there's just these little things that do add up. But I think that we also should obviously keep an eye on the kind of the climate and safety challenges that are very real for everybody. So it's sort of that balance of, I always hope that my cynicism means I care, not that I'm being cynical. And so I really believe that downtown White River's moved the ball tremendously for a variety of reasons. And I just really hope that we can continue to kind of, find those ways to just do those improvements and dedication to the downtown environment. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Ashley?
I actually did think of something. I'm wondering if it is named in here and I missed it, please let me know, forgive me. But if there is any type of specific focus in the initiative towards like sustainability and permaculture. So I'm just returning from a trip abroad and I was really inspired by the downtown centers in Sweden where I was, which had a majority of perennial plants that don't require as much labor or cost to replant every year and to maintain. And those plants are also insect repellent and some of them are edible. So I'm just, wondering if that's worked into the planning for the beautification and for grant funding.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and that's something the DBA should keep in mind and discuss going forward. The planters we have, our first year using them was last year really. They are self-watering, which helps, but it still requires a lot of work. I mean, we have a professional landscaper contract because previously people had been like, oh, we'll volunteer and do it, and that just doesn't really work out always.
Of dead plants.
Yeah, and when you have a drought and you're needing to water them more and all of that. But that's definitely something we will keep in mind in the future. Because like you're saying, there's multiple uses for it, and plantings are continuing to get more and more expensive. So anything we could keep over time would be great.
Yeah, and I know we have a really active group called the Hartford Garden Friends.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure, I know they do plantings and maintain perennial beds around town, so I'm sure they can be brought in even further if they haven't been already. Oh yeah, okay. Kim, we'll go back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Sorry
introduce
about that earlier.
yourself. Yeah, no, all good. Introduce yourself and 2 minutes on the clock here. Go ahead.
Kim Souza, Hartford, Vermont, and also chair of the Downtown White River Junction Business Association. The one opportunity for increased green space and permaculture considerations is the town square parking lot that we've looked at in terms of there's opportunity for way more green space with that design. And so it's with the planning department and Parks and Rec that would be a great place for the select board to really insist on more green space. And I would be happy to discuss any of that further with any board members or town staff. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Kim.
Definitely a great opportunity there. All right. Any other discussion? If not, I will take a motion on this. Mary.
I'll go ahead. I move that the select board approve and sign the White River Junction Downtown Program Letter of Attestation in order to execute the vibrancy grant documents.
Second from Mary, second from Miranda. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the grant. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Lexi.
you.
Thanks, Lexi.
Sorry, I see
Super
you there.
point
Okay.
of clarification.
Okay.
So is it just business members that are a part of this revitalization?
Anyone with like a company in the downtown
Okay.
can be involved. It's not specific to individuals.
Okay, I'm just
Historic downtown, it's just.
totally off track, but talking with Ashley's thing, there is a little area of downtown on South Main Street that is infested with poison ivy. And I've been battling this for years. Like, I have access to goats now. I sprayed half of it with vinegar, Dawn, and salt or whatever. But that, I think, I just want to put that on someone's radar because I've
Thank you.
emailed DPW about it. Nobody seems concerned that your dogs can get it on their nose and it grows into the sidewalk. Anybody who walks down there is a plethora of poison ivy. So just thinking about plantings. When they developed this apartment building, we lost a treasure downtown. It was called Raspberry Revolution Park. And it was a beautiful space and it would be great to have little micro spaces again.
Thanks, Jeanette.
Can I just clarify,
Yeah.
because Lexi wasn't at the mic, just for anyone at home who
Yes.
didn't hear Lexi's response to Jeanette's question, it was that any company in Hartford can participate. There's not strict boundaries to participation like there is for TIF or anything like that.
Great. Okay, excellent. All right, let's go to, so John, any update about?
Yes, Jeremy Delisle should be online, maybe through his daughter Ainsley's phone.
No, he's on.
Okay, all
The
right.
problem he's got is he doesn't have access to these documents. I think the plan had been for Todd Law to be here tonight, but for some reason he's not. So I guess we have the option of trying to slog through these 4 items, which again are pretty straightforward, without much commentary by DPW, or to simply table the matters.
Okay, well, the agenda packet is posted on the website. I don't know, Jeremy, if you can.
I have told him that.
Okay. Well, Jeremy, if you want to just speak up and say, do you feel ready to present? We could also give you a little bit more time to get the agenda packet downloaded, and go on to a different item and then come back to it. But do you want to just let us know, do you feel ready to go forward with these items now, or do you want a little more time?
If you guys could give me a little more time, that would be great. I'll try to get them printed off. They are pretty straightforward, as John spoke. The chemical for Queechee, White River, and the chlorine for Wilder. We did the bids and everything, as you guys can all see. There's, if anybody has questions about that, great. Otherwise, if you guys give me some time, I'll try to print off the actual memo and read it out loud.
Okay, yeah, we won't require you reading the whole memo. It just might be helpful if you have it in front of you, just so you can refer to it if anyone has specific questions about something written in there. But yeah, if you have a way to just at least download it and have it in front of you, that will probably make it go a little bit smoother. But yeah, no need to read it all once we get there. But so do people feel okay about going on to the item G first? So Jeremy just has a little more time to get that going? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do another agenda item and then come back to you, Jeremy, in 10 or 15 minutes, if that works.
That's perfect. I'm going to log off and see if I can get that stuff printed off. Thank you very much.
Okay, great, yep. Okay, so we'll look at item G, which is constitute the capital improvement plan committee.
Yes, thank you for your patience and flexibility, everybody on the board. This should be pretty straightforward. As you will remember, on June 9th, the Select Board adopted bylaws for the Capital Improvement Plan Committee. And now the task before us is to simply constitute that committee. The bylaws did reference the potential membership, but the recommended motion before you simply asks that you now make those appointments official. The membership would be the town manager, again, going forward, that would be Gail. The finance director, Lisa Frederickson. The Department of Public Works Director, Todd Law. Planning and Development Department will be represented by Lori Hirschfield in the short term and her successor thereafter in that role. The Environmental Sustainability Coordinator would be a member until such time as the town has hired a facilities manager. The Planning Commission would be represented by the chair, John Reed, leaving only the designation of a select board member to sit on that committee before we'd have a full slate to recommend in a motion for adoption.
Great, thanks, John. And just as by way of a little bit of additional context, so we're next week the select board is going to have a workshop about the capital improvement plan to work on prioritization, and the point of the committee is to make sure that that work is held with a body and moved forward beyond the scope of the work that we do with this consultant, which is a temporary arrangement, to make sure that there's like sort of, you know, a group that's holding the ball and making sure that the appropriate timeline is being carried out as we continue to you know, follow the plan.
Yeah, the consultant has made it clear that their plan is to hand us a document that we should consider to be a living document that can be maintained in-house through this CIPC.
Right. All right, so what questions do people have about this? So if we have any general questions about the process or the makeup of the committee, that's one topic to cover, and then we also need to identify a select board member, right? One select board member? Okay, Tim?
Well, the initial thought I had, or perhaps matter of concern, is that amongst the town staff, which are critical to this process, we are missing Parks and Rec, Police and Fire. And I don't necessarily think that's a great design in the sense that those departments face pretty significant capital demands over time.
The only response I'd have is that each of those people or department heads were involved in the current process of developing a capital improvement plan, and they certainly would be welcome to attend future meetings of the capital improvement plan committee. So I don't know that their presence on the committee is necessary for them to play an important role. I think that the proposal for a committee of this size was to make it nimble, efficient, and productive. And as we sometimes have learned, the more people on a committee doesn't necessarily mean the better outcome.
Tends to bog it down, yeah. Okay. I mean, I get that. I also think like sometimes we create these layers and committees and things that it's like it's sort of inherent in the role of being a department head that you're going to be engaged in the process of capital planning. So it's sort of like, you know, it'll work, but it's sort of a funny, you know, and I know what we're trying to do is create this sustainable model of keeping an eye on our capital demands and making it work over time. But you know, I think we should keep an eye on how efficiently we're getting there also.
Yeah, I agree. I think it sort of serves the purpose to, like, you know, each department head is clearly responsible for their capital needs and making sure that that is going into the plan itself. Well, the committee is kind of, you know, sort of the hub for that information and making sure it's moving forward. So I think they're involved, and I think by way of not having every single department head on this committee, there had to be some decisions there. But it does not in any way indicate that those departments, you know, obviously every department has very important capital needs that need to be considered.
Cool.
Other thoughts on this? Sure.
I guess my question is, are there any board members who are interested in being the liaison to this committee?
Not a liaison.
Or yeah, a
of
member,
the committee, part
a
of the
voting
committee.
member.
Voting member. Tim, you're interested? Wow.
Here, here.
Wow.
I'm just saying, he's doing a lot, and we
Yeah.
appreciate it deeply. Are any other folks eager or interested in being part of this? Supportive of Tim's volunteerism? Thank you, Tim.
Well, I'd like to nominate Tim
Okay.
Ferriero.
Second.
Great.
Do we need to do a?
No, it's always work that I've
We
enjoyed.
have a motion that sort of encompasses the whole slate of candidates. So with understanding that Tim is
Would
the
serve
select
in
board,
that
would
role.
serve as the select board member.
For the
but
first
if someone
term.
wants to make a motion.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Or my turn, shall we say,
First year of its existence, yeah.
depending on which is shorter.
Oh, wait, no. I see it.
Do I need a
I
contract?
got it.
Okay,
You got it.
Miranda, go ahead.
I move that the select board appoint the proposed slate of candidates to serve on the town's capital improvement plan committee until further notice, and that they convene an organizational meeting within 30 days to be followed by a meeting in September of 2026 designed to explain the CIP process to the public and solicit public input.
Thank you. There's a motion.
Second?
Second from Ashley. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, great. The motion passes. We have a committee for the capital improvement plan. Thank you in advance to Tim and all the members who have stepped up to be part of this
Yeah.
really crucial committee. And I'm looking forward to kind of kickstarting this process next week in our workshop. Great.
I wanted to just do a brief follow-up that's somewhat related. I know that we, as a board, were to articulate back to me just thoughts about capital, and I do owe you, you know, Eric, an email around that, because there was some feedback, not a lot, but we can incorporate that, you know, in our future planning. That is to say, like taking that, you know, capital thoughts and information and making it all kind of meet. And I think that will happen. I haven't gotten my head around that or followed up on just what people have said and where it fits in our work. Does that make sense?
In fact, it does not. I think, are we talking about the FY '28 budget request from the board?
Yeah, we had solicited, right, the idea was like anything on people's minds associated with like the budget.
So that's not a capital, necessarily capital stuff,
Okay,
right?
it wasn't
That's the
specific.
operating, that's the general fund budget
Okay.
and.
It wasn't specific to capital.
So-
I had a misunderstanding.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we will circle back with you because we'll be discussing that with the new town manager as part of the transition,
Right.
setting some expectations
Exactly.
there. And so you're going to be in the hot seat very quickly.
Okay, awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
But if you get distracted, we can pick up some slack.
Okay. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, and just a quick reminder, similar topic to all board members that Alex Torpy from Rethink Local sent us a set of documents about the capital improvement plan for us to review prior to the workshop on July 30th, which is next Thursday, right?
Yep.
Okay. So they are not small documents, so I encourage you all to carve out a little time of your weekend to see what he sent, because there is actually a request to fill something out. I don't know if anyone's done it yet. I haven't.
And it's due back in on the 28th.
Okay, thank you,
Good
Mary.
looking out, Mary.
Thank you. So there's a request to complete, can you say anything more about it? Because I haven't done it yet.
It's the list. It's a list that is
Yeah.
very, very long.
Yeah.
and very, very tiny print.
Okay,
So, and it's all, in a spreadsheet.
Did
Yeah.
that come to us by way of email through
Yes.
Okay.
so yeah.
7/16.
Email from Alex on July 16th with instructions of some homework to complete by the 28th in preparation for our workshop on the 30th, which is open to the public and will be in room 2 across the hall for anyone who wants to listen in on our process, what may come of, working through our capital improvement plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, do we have Jeremy back online and on the Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. Great, I think Jeremy, we'll go to you now to look at these contracts. And like I said, we've looked at them, so if you just want to give we'll go through them one by one. Starting with, let's see, this is the wastewater chemical bid.
Hypochlorite.
Sodium.
So the sodium hypochlorite and the 8837 polymer is actually going to be the same recommendation. We can discuss both of them separately if you'd like, but the motion is in one paragraph at the end.
Yep,
So-
we see that. Okay, yeah, if you just want to give a real quick overview and then we can ask
Yeah.
questions if we have them. Yeah,
Yeah, so the sodium hypochlorite is the chlorine that we use to treat in our water system. Basically, we go through, depending on the demand of water that we have, depends on how much we go through. Allen Chemical Engineering has supplied us with this for quite a while. Same with the polymer. That's a important chemical that's needed in treating our wastewater. Allen Engineering was the only one to provide bids on those two chemicals. So kind of the staff recommendation is clear. These chemicals aren't really anything that, in the past, we have tried to get a different type of chemical or try the Stern pack in Queechee, and that messed up our treatment process. So it actually ended up costing quite a bit of money to get everything straightened back out. So that's why we're sticking with that and recommending with that chemical for White River, if that makes sense.
yep. Okay. Questions about these two products?
Okay.
Yes.
Quick question, Jeremy. It sounded like to me that because you had to kind of balance out who was able to bid and there wasn't a lot to work with. You said that these companies, you've worked with these companies for a long time. Are we ever in danger of not having companies to bid for some of this? I'm just thinking in the long term. It sounds like you have a long-term relationship, but is there the possibility that we're only going to be able to get these materials from these specific places?
So, excuse me, I'm sure if we, really looked into across the United States, we most certainly can find other people to provide this. This is a company that's out of Rutland, Vermont. They've supplied to us for a while. That you can make a phone call right now and he will somehow get me chlorine if need be. We have a lot of those relationships with a lot of our vendors, but as far as every time we put this out, they seem to be the only two companies that seem to respond back. So we have had a good relationship with them. There's really not the product shortage as far as chlorine or that as of yet, and I don't see any concerns to be like that.
Okay, thank you,
If that
Jeremy.
answers your question. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
it does.
Any other questions? Now I can take a motion on this one. There's two-part motion.
Chair,
Yes.
I move that the Select Board award the bid to Allen Engineering and Chemical Corporation of Rutland, Vermont for an estimated 23,760 gallons of sodium hypochlorite at a price of $3.50 per gallon and an estimated 4,950 gallons of polymer 8837 at $25.67 per gallon. Authorize the town manager to sign an agreement with Allen Engineering and Chemical Corporation for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2028.
I'll second that motion.
Second from Tim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Passes with full support. And I can go ahead and take a second motion, Eric.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the Select Board award the bid to Holland Company, Inc. of Adams, Massachusetts for an estimated 12,000 gallons of Stern Pack 70 at $3.50 per gallon, and authorize the town manager to sign an agreement with Holland Company, Inc. for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2028.
I'll second that motion.
Another second from Tim, motion from Eric. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Passes unanimously. Okay, thanks, Jeremy. We can go right on to the next one.
Yeah, so
Oh,
the
no.
aggregate.
Oh, okay, the aggregate. Okay, so, all right, sorry, just catching up how this was listed on the agenda. So that was 3, and then we just are doing aggregate. Okay, yes, go ahead.
Awesome. So every year we reach out to our local gravel pits to see what pricing looks like for the materials that we use for like stone lining our ditches, when we end up bringing hard pack in for our gravel roads, any type of emergency repair as far as water leaks or sinkholes and things of that nature. We have been pretty lucky the last few years, and D&D has been very competitive on their sand pricing, which has saved the town significantly. And Eric brought up a good question where we can actually pay attention to which company was cheaper and buy that product from them depending on cost. But there's also some concerns with 12A traffic during Christmas time or things like that, where the load trips will take longer if we went to Pike over Twin State. So the staff recommendation was to basically award Pike Industry as the primary vendor for aggregate and exceptional winter sand based upon their overall competitive bid pricing. And then D&D excavation for our winter sand.
All right, thank you. Questions? Tim?
Jeremy, I just have an operational question. So we have we ran into a little bit with the salt thing last year. We kind of ran out and had to kind of buy high on the market. This is obviously different materials, but the Cargill salt we pull, is that blended with sand, or do we do our own blending?
No, we do our own blending. So basically we do 3 scoops of sand to 1 bucket of salt for your general snowstorms. Sometimes we get a little more where it's 2 buckets of sand to 1 bucket of salt, depending on temperature and stuff. Pretty excited. We're going to look into the liquid option as far as you treat your salt. But no, that's basically how the mixture works anyways.
And the only other thought I had was, on occasion I've noted that we get sand product that won't be screened necessarily properly, so we end up with like larger aggregates in the road. And I just didn't know if that's something that when you specify a contract, that the provider is, you know, subject to that they make sure that it's a screened aggregate.
So we check it out when we go and get loaded. Each driver kind of pays attention to what comes out of the truck, and if there's anything significant in there, then we speak to the gravel pit. I am wondering if the bigger aggregate that some people are referring to is we've actually been mixing super grit in with our sand, which is a more stone-based sand. So it gives our trucks a lot more traction and we can put down less material. But the problem with the super grit is when the sun comes out, it melts down through the ice. So your road becomes slippery again.
Right, melts back over, yeah.
Correct. So when we do the sand and super grit, it coats the gravel roads. The super grit being a stone base is better for the base of our gravel roads in the springtime and stuff. And when we're spreading it around town, there's actually a smaller chance that the stone gets washed into the drainage system. It still gets washed in, but not as easily as sand does, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for the context, appreciate it. Other comments or questions? Eric?
Thank you, Chair. I had an alternate to the motion that's in the packet, and I just wanted to run this by Jeremy and John just to see. Basically, the motion in the packet gives you flexibility on product availability and expediency, operational expediency. Makes perfect sense, but why not also have flexibility on price? Clearly, there are products that are cheaper by the ton from Twin State. So couldn't we just say authorize DPW to purchase aggregates with the exception of winter sand from either Pike Industries or Twin State sand and gravel based on product pricing, product availability, and operational expediency, just to provide maximum flexibility? I mean, there's no contract and there's no volume or bulk discount that we're getting, if I understand correctly. And so my inclination is just to give you the authority to make the best judgment on a given product or at a given day or what have you.
Like least restrictive, if you will.
Right.
Yeah. Jeremy, do you understand that
Yeah,
suggestion?
I completely understand what he's saying, and I don't think there's any issue with that. The only little bit of concern I have is, and I can speak to both gravel pits, there is an adjustment to the pricing based off of the quantities we are anticipating of using. They most certainly could say that's why their pricing was better, is because they were going to make their money out of the hard pack instead of the ledgestone, if you will. But I have a great relationship with both of them, and I don't see any reason why we can't change that motion to that.
Thank you.
I've got no objection to
Okay.
increasing flexibility at DPW.
Yeah. Okay. Any discussion or points to raise about this adjusted revised motion that Eric brought up? People are good with that? Okay, if so, then if you want to go ahead and make your motion, Eric.
Sure. I move that the Select Board authorize the Department of Public Works to purchase aggregates with the exception of winter sand from either Pike Industries or Twin State Sand and Gravel Company based on product pricing, product availability, and operational expediency.
I'll second that motion.
Second from Tim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, that motion passes. Okay, and that covers everything we needed for that, right?
Now we've
No,
got a
there's a
second.
The
second
second
part.
one, okay. Second part of the motion for the winter sand.
Correct. Yep.
Sure.
Okay. We'll have
I
another-
move that the Hartford Select Board designate D&D Excavating, Inc. as the primary vendor for winter sand based on their overall competitive bid pricing, with Twin State Sand and Gravel Company, Inc. Being utilized in the event of product shortages at D&D Excavating or when deemed operationally expedient.
Great. Motion from
I'll
Eric.
second that motion.
Second from Tim. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, that one also passes unanimously. Great, thank you so much, Jeremy,
Thanks,
for your
Jeremy.
work
Thanks,
and
Jeremy.
for coming in at short notice. Really appreciate
Of course,
it.
I apologize
Yeah.
for any inconvenience. You guys have a great
No,
night.
not at all, not at all. We're just hoping Todd's okay and yeah.
You're not gonna need any sand this winter.
Hey, I'm all for that. I'm sure there'd be some happy people this year if that was true. Have a great night.
You too. All right. Yeah. Yeah, do wanna just express concern for Todd. I hope he's okay, John. Let us know if,
I sure will.
yeah, okay. All right, we'll move on to, our last item under action items, which is the adoption of the proposed intermediate term recommendations for boards, committees, and commissions. I think this might be Eric and Miranda agenda memo, is that right? Yes, okay. Who wants to begin? It's like Eric, you submitted it.
Yeah.
I'll get us started, and I
Okay.
hope you'll join Miranda.
Okay.
I'll back you up.
So just get right to the point, there's a table that's under the discussion section of the memo. And this discussion is focused solely on the recommendations for immediate action. We have work to do yet on some of the other recommended actions before we bring that back to the board. But right now, we've gotten feedback from staff liaisons, most of which is included in the emails that are following the document, I believe, in this packet. The table is color-coded, and it sort of is designed to zero us in on these 7 actions. The color coding is the blue stuff is sort of, I think, probably the advisory bodies, the committees and commissions themselves will have a lift. The green stuff is probably more staff, like whether it's staff liaisons or communication and media specialists, I don't know. That would be sort of coordinated among staff with the town manager. I don't think that the committees and commissions update their own web pages, for example. The gray one, referrals, is really an ongoing thing for the board to work on. Yeah, so there's 3 sort of that land probably more on the plate of the committees and commissions. And I'll turn it over to the board for questions.
Okay, thank you. Question, or Tim?
I actually have a comment, and I love this work. I think we need this consistency and an overlay, and I know some committees have kind of given us a little bit of blowback in terms of like, this is work, and yes, it is, but I think that we having a consistent template that we follow and we can work with, I think is a great idea. So I appreciate all the work on this.
Thanks, Tim. What are thoughts on these immediate term suggestions? Yes, Mary?
Yeah, I have a different take on this, and I'm sorry to have to bring this up this way, but I tried to address this when this first came out. The purpose, the very first sentence says, the town is fortunate to have so many citizens willing to invest their time and expertise in supporting local government. Empowering them is central to our participatory democracy. While I think that there are things that these committees and commissions can do, I think that you're forgetting a big part of it, and that is the 60+ people who are on the committees. I think that, eventually I'm gonna make a motion to table this for several months, because I think you've gotten information from the staff, but you have not gotten any information from the committee people themselves. And they are the people that are the backbone of all these committees. You witnessed a gentleman here who's been on a committee for a long time. I also am concerned because the committee that I was on, or that I am on, that met at 5 o'clock here, has no staff liaison. So we didn't have staff. I brought information to them, but we have not had a chance, other than our regular meetings, just the block right before the block party and then tonight, to meet, to even talk about these things. I think that if you really want some great goals and some long-term plans, you need to involve the people who are the ones who are doing the work. And so, I may come out really strongly because I'm very compassionate. I've been on 6 committees since I've been here. And sometimes 3 of the 6 committees don't always have a quorum. And it just is kind of, it comes at me in the wrong spot, because it comes, and I said this before, it sounds top down. board, staff, and then you've forgotten the little guys who work really hard to make this work, to make these committees. And, you know, I'm very concerned that this leaves out people who could make amazing suggestions for both immediate and long-term. And I can't accept that because I just can't, because I'm very passionate about seeing all the work that these people do. And some of them have been around a long time.
Thanks for that perspective. Go to Miranda, maybe?
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, Mary, if there are things in the immediate, right? I really do think that it's important to involve the committees in like long-term decision making, but some of the immediate things seem pretty like, right, you know, making sure that like the webpage is accurate is just like good practice.
Right.
And I think is good to like get those types of, get membership so that committees can make quorum because all of the information is right there and up to date. So I'm wondering if what we're talking about tonight is maybe necessary to get all of the input from committees, to get input from committee members from now before we,
But you're asking for 12-month specific, concise information. And when you have people who don't always have a quorum, you can't even get together to talk about what those agenda items are. Or you have suddenly a person who's coming in to speak on an issue. Or like in my design review, we meet only when we have something from, you know, a group at White River Junction. Last year, there were 11 months that they went before they met. How can you make a 12-month, you know, specific, planned out, organized, concise agenda when, you know, I just think, you know, you start small and you work up to it and, you know, and provide the, you know, make sure that the people feel like they're involved in decision making. And it just doesn't seem to me that we're empowering them. We're just dictating, and that hurts.
I think a lot of your points are valid in the sense of like top down versus grassroots and getting that data. Totally get that. However, I have also served on several like committees in this town, both on the school and the town level. And the one thing that's really striking to me is, and I've felt this even within committees, like, well, what's our work and what are we doing? And is it having an impact? And is it consistent? And are we engaged? And I think that by creating a consistent template that any committee should adhere to as common good practice, I think it just sort of sets a standard that perhaps the level of engagement and participation would actually go up. Because I think what happens for me is that I've been on committees that have really done the work and then nothing happens, or it's not clear what's supposed to happen with the work. So I feel like we really have an opportunity to, by providing that structure, to strengthen and enhance those relationships so that these committees and commissions are clear on the work that they're supposed to do and then how that plugs into the actual governing of the town. And I don't think we've done a great job with that. I think honestly, amongst committees, there's a tremendous amount of inconsistency with like what they're doing, how they're doing it, what the level of engagement is back to the governing body and so on. So I think that we really should be thinking of it as we're trying to create a structure that supports the committees and makes them more functional. It's not a critique of like, hey, you know, you're not doing your homework. So I think we have to balance that, right? We have to balance the listening, but then we also have to create a structure that makes them much more functional and more engaged in the process.
I think we're trying to figure out what comes first, the chicken or the egg here. And I think, you know, if I were a person coming into a committee meeting and being told this is what you're doing now, I probably would bow out. I'd say, wait a minute, you know, I thought we were valued members of this committee. I mean, you approved us, everybody thanked you for, you know, the service, and these people are experts, but we haven't yet asked them
for their input, only for the staff. And
Right.
you know, so that's where, you know, we talk about, we're community building. How is this community building?
Well, I think we need clarity to the work. I
Yeah,
really
we
do.
do.
I think there are many committees that would benefit by thinking and reflecting on the clarity of their work. And this sounds really cynical, but you know, I've always thought there may be committees that are done, or they shouldn't exist, or their work is done, or they should merge with another committee. So I think this refresher is a healthy process. And yes, you know, I hear what you're saying about it maybe coming across as top-down condescending and not listening, but I think we can correct that, right? We can listen, but I also think that we need to continue to develop a structure that makes sense, such as this.
I also think, and I'll go to your comments in a second, I just also think that it could be framed as an opportunity to bring in that input, to say, these are our requests, and we want you to tailor your response that's in a way that's appropriate to the work that you're doing. So when we ask for a 12-month plan, if the plan is meet as a design review board, when we have something that's come before us and make the decisions that are needed to move that forward, then that's an appropriate plan for that committee. I mean, it's a way for them to really show us and highlight what, you know, how to tailor this structure in a way that makes sense to them. And I do hope that it can be a structure that invites input by just creating sort of a format for that to kind of come to light and come to the forefront more, as opposed to, not so much imposing, but an invitation by saying like, here's a template, and we want your input to sort of show us what work makes sense to you within these buckets. So I think I see it I see it a bit differently, as more of an invitation than an instruction, or that would be my hope. But I think it does, your point is well taken, in that the way that we communicate the goals is important, and we want to let people know that we're trying to invite, by offering a structure and a template, we're inviting your input, not
Well, it didn't come across that, and I think Allison is here to talk to how, you know, she's responded, but I know it's not the time yet, but.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely love to hear from you. I think we have a couple comments. I'll go to Ashley. I know you've been waiting.
Yeah, Mary, I think it's really unfortunate that you have interpreted this work the way that you have. And I will say it's frustrating for me, because I feel that you've now created this entire narrative that the board is somehow trying to control the committees, or is like overpowering the committees and not valuing the committees. Whereas not a single committee member that I've spoken to over the last 2 months has raised that concern at all, except for someone that you are the liaison to a committee to. So in a way, I feel like your framing and like opposition to the board's initiative is actually creating this narrative that will put doubts in the mind of committee members that aren't based in reality. So that's my frustration. I don't think the intent has ever been that we don't value the committees, or that we don't value the committee members. So just to say, to some points that others have made, the committees are advisory bodies to the board. If my boss didn't give me a performance review, or review my job description with me, or check in with me on a regular basis, I would be frustrated, and I would feel undervalued, and I would probably, that would make me feel less engaged and active in my role. Because if my supervisor or my company that I'm doing work with and for doesn't care what I'm doing, doesn't care that my work is aligned with the work of the company, well, then I'm probably not really being utilized as an asset to that company. So just like a parallel is that this is 100% intended to empower the committees so that we can increase committee membership, get things on the website, get things that look really aligned and clear as to what these committees do, and how they're engaged with the operations of the town. They're not just hobbies, you know, not that I think they're hobbies now, but I want it to be a strong, unified presence to our community that these boards are advisory bodies to the town government. And I think that's what this seeks to do. I also would just echo Miranda's thoughts that like, long-term, of course, the entire thing is to get feedback from committees and work with committees to build stronger work plans and perhaps charges or whatever, reassessing. But these initial steps are just to really get the framework of, like, I don't think we need to ask every single committee if they think it's okay that we try to standardize our websites. Like that kind of is a town policy. And that we have onboarding packets for new committee members. That again, I think like that's a town kind of ask and standard. So I would just agree that none of these initial actions are meant to derail committee work or belittle committee work, and that this is all like regular maintenance that we should have been doing long-term.
I just want to respond because I thought it's really incorrect that you said, I have built this narrative.
You're saying it.
I am saying it because I've actually, you may have not heard anything, but I also speak with people, and a committee member came up to me less than a week ago and was complaining, was upset, but they're not going to come here and say it, except Allison's brave enough. But I also found, because this person was saying, you're asking us to do a lot of things, why don't you put your own house in order? The person said that their liaison had missed 4 months of meetings. And I thought, well, if you have 12 meetings, that's a third of the time. And granted, we don't have to be at every meeting, but I think it is, I have discovered that people in the committees I've been on have really appreciated, whatever comments I had to make other than taking notes and writing up reports. And so, I just think that was an unfair statement on your part, so.
Sorry you feel that way, but I will say I felt that you created this narrative the very first time that this came onto the agenda, which was, I think, 2 months ago.
Yeah, I did, and I
So to say that committee members are now, like, right, I don't want to argue. We could talk later if you'd like, but it's unfortunate that there's so much negativity around this topic.
Okay. Wondering if we want to hear from the public, if Eric, you want to speak at all again? I don't know.
Very briefly, I will
Okay.
say that those who have pointed out that this is intended to be a structure that people can sort of plug into, that committees and commissions can plug into to support their work, I think that's an accurate representation. The way it was delivered may have been imperfect, and I apologize for that. I got sort of down in the weeds about the technicalities and perhaps overlooked some of the how to introduce this and frame it. But really, this is about this initial phase of work is about creating the structures, creating some uniformity, and I hope it will support committees and commissions. And for those that don't have, I think Mary, your comment about design review committee. Yeah, I think there may be exceptions. Like, I don't think we need to sort of force, whenever you create a rule, there's an exception to it, right? So I don't think we need to force them to create a work plan that is one sentence that says we'll do the things that we do. We can, just acknowledge that their work maybe doesn't fit into that, but many advisory bodies, I think, could benefit. And I think marrying it to the budget requests will also be informative for the board and help us understand why they're coming forward with requests and sort of be able to look at a year ahead. And that's the alignment part of it, is sort of looking at a year ahead and making sure we understand what they're doing and so forth. So I think that the idea is a structure, and I apologize for any flaws in delivery.
Miranda?
Yeah, and I think I just see this too as like a way, like, yes, it's top down in the structure, but I still feel like there's like a lot of room for input. Like, we're not directing what the 12-month plan is. We're just saying like, hey, what are you doing this year? And I think it also gives a little bit of guidance for when the committees do come to the board every year and give us an update, you know, we have an idea of what they plan to work on. They have a frame of reference to give a presentation on, because I know, you know, some of the committees I sit on, they're like, wait, what does the board want to know? And I'm like, oh, just like things that we've been working on or whatever. And so I think this gives a little bit of ease through that process too, because those things kind of sneak up on you. So I guess that's how I'm viewing it, but obviously also do want to hear from committees. I think maybe the long term is kind of more so where I see a lot of like really valuable input coming in from them.
Yes, I think that is an important distinction, and this agenda memo notes that we're continuing to gather input on medium term and eventually long-term recommendations, and it was intentional that we were thinking we would only, at this point, we would only be ready at at most to consider these immediate term recommendations. With that, Allison, I'll invite you to come up if you'd like to make any comments as a committee leader.
Thank you, Allison Litton, resident of Wilder, secretary of the Sister Cities Committee. And we are in a unique position where we do not have anyone in town government who oversees us, and actually in our relationships with other cities, that is unique to us as well. And so I think I'm coming from a committee of either working professionals, myself, or retirees. And I had come a couple months ago just asking sort of where this was coming from, and I see that as a public school teacher, I certainly understand and appreciate the need for cohesion and understanding on all party sides, where we are and where we're going. And I completely get that. And so I think I'm coming with the request that, and hearing the board is helpful, that this is a conversation. That's really what we're looking for. And we've been in a weird, and again, I know that we're unique. We've been in a situation where our select board liaisons, it's been a little spotty, it's been a little catch as catch can, and so maybe that puts us in a sort of separate category. And I do appreciate Mayor's participation in our committee. So I think that's what I'm coming to this with, as sure, having, you know, the website updated, those logistical things, clearly, that's critical. We want everyone, and I've been actively working on that, saying, hey, can you change the time of our meeting? Because that's not correct. And so things like that, obviously, we all want someone to click on a link and have it go to the right place. But also thinking more globally, and every committee is unique, obviously. Dealing with human beings is not linear. But, was that a beat for me to can it?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind wrapping up or sharing some final thoughts.
I'm really encouraging that the board make it clear how this is a conversation, and not just a checklist that we need to be performative of.
Yes.
That is my request.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent point. Very well taken. I think there is room for improvement in terms of the framing. And
I was thinking that if the board moves forward with this, it would be appreciated if they would inform me or instruct me how you'd like me to communicate this to the boards, committees, and commissions.
Absolutely. I think maybe what would be called for is some draft language of, framing it as an invitation. Like, these are, these are recommendations, and some guidance that we know will need to be tailored based on specific committee operations and needs, and feedback is welcome, and this is a starting point of a conversation, would be what my suggestion. but we'll definitely, we'll figure out who's gonna work on that with you, John. We won't leave you to craft that by yourself. Tim?
I'll let her speak.
Oh, okay, sorry, yes.
Jeanette Sharkey Potter, White River Junction. So I just wanted to thank Mary for her statements. I have been digging through like the committee meetings and stuff, and it isn't consistent when we have select board, and maybe that's a symptom of you guys have a lot to do. I mean, these packets are tremendous every week. And so as we have, it's just my suggestion, we have an opportunity, thank you, John, for your time here, by the way. But we have an opportunity with a new town manager coming in. Perhaps the town manager could be more involved in these committee, just sitting in or being a part of these committees. That might take some of the burden off you, and then you have one person who kind of knows what all these people are doing. It's just a suggestion, but it has been something that's noted that there truly is not good communication between the committees and the public around knowledge of having the correct times on the website, having minutes uploaded in a timely manner or even existent. So that also is really helpful. But just maybe it's a symptom that you guys have a lot of meetings and a lot of stuff to do. And perhaps restructuring who the point person is might be more of a conversation.
Yeah, thanks for that suggestion. I mean, I think a big picture goal of looking at this topic is because we want to delegate really effectively and make sure our committees are used kind of to the top of their abilities as advisory boards. And that is part of the longer term goal in terms of what, how we refer to committees. But I think your point about having a little, town manager involvement, or at least visiting committee and commission meetings to sort of add to that fluency and consistency.
Like Scott Hausler is always at first.
Yes, he's the, right, as the staff liaison, right. Yeah, Jeanette was just saying Scott Hausler is always at the Parks and Rec Committee meeting, and that really helps with communication. Okay. Further thoughts? I think where we're at is we have a potential recommendation. I don't know if we have a motion.
Were you suggesting though that were we to prepare, taking into consideration the input tonight, that we would prepare sort of we'll call it a diplomatic introduction to this work that's a little softer? My conviction is that with clarity, we will increase engagement. We've had many committees say we're short on people aren't engaging. And I think if we develop clarity and structure and some of this great work, that we will actually increase participation.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that as one of the long-term goals and hopes for this. And I do recommend that if we move forward with these immediate term recommendations, that there's some additional work to be done in terms of a framing that's an invitation. And
Were you suggesting that we do a motion to adopt this tonight? Was that the idea that we had, or what's the thinking around this?
Eric,
So in the table under discussion, there's recommended next steps for each of these, which are distinct, right? So some of them are communicate requests via the select board liaisons. Some of them are direct the town manager to coordinate, and so on and so forth. So we probably ought to go through and confirm that those recommended next steps make sense and that people understand them, and then just move to adopt all of them or some of them, whichever the case may be. Okay, so we don't have to move forward with all of them. For example, there's one here about community engagement aspects that references a community or a engagement strategy on behalf of the town, and that strategy doesn't exist yet. And so it doesn't require anything on the part of the committees and commissions, but what we'd be doing is asking staff to sort of help frame that up. So I guess going through each of the next steps might be informative.
Okay, do you want to walk us through?
Sure. So with a work plan, that request would just be communicated via the liaisons, select board liaisons. And in the document itself, I've sort of tried to clarify the ask. And so it's basically a set of bullets for what we're asking in a work plan. If we feel like we need to create a template, we can do that. I also thought that, I don't like creating templates for people. I think it's better if they figure out how to take that, if we give you 6 bullet points, these are the things that we're asking for, this is the pieces of information that we want, you figure out how you want to present that to us. So we can, if we want, to create a template or just communicate the requests that are in the document.
I think templates would be helpful, just in both in consistency and then also just time effectiveness. Like, I think it's a lot easier for all of us to get all those out to all of our different committees if we do have a template to work on.
Okay, so maybe the next step should be to create the template, and then we'll use that as the mechanism for communicating to the advisory bodies.
Yes, and with that, I would say, yeah, a sentence or two introduction that notes the, that feedback on how this needs to be tailored based on your specific committee is welcome as well. Right.
Right, there'd be a variance too on outcomes, right? I mean, we understand that different committees are gonna have different objectives or outcomes that they would anticipate in the next year. Like Mary said, like design review, if they don't have a thing to act on, then
Right.
the net outcome is 0 because nothing happened. Like, that's fine, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Okay, so assuming we've got the framing and we've got a template, would we be ready to go ahead and make the request via select board liaisons?
Once we have those pieces, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm happy to draft something and let others weigh in on, sort of in particular the framing part of it. The second one, 5.2, this is, the recommended next step is to direct the town manager to coordinate with staff, whether it's the community or communications and media specialists or staff liaisons. That's entirely up to staff as how to carry that out. But in some sense, it makes sense to sort of coordinate that if we're looking for some degree of uniformity.
So in other words, JD could provide maybe some consistency suggestions around each
Yeah, I know
committee.
that's an operational thing. I think we just leave it to the town manager to figure out how to make that happen. But it's basically about going to section 5.2 in the document and looking at the bullet list that we've outlined for expectations on the web page. And staff liaisons, committees and commissions may have additional information they want to put on there. But the idea was that those were the sort of the standard top line things, and then you sort of customize and add to it as, as the need arises. But, so that would be a directive to the town manager.
Oh yeah, you got a good outline there. Yeah, that's cool.
Does that make sense to you, John? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I think that one makes sense.
All right, the onboarding packet, in the section 5.3, there are a few suggestions are what should be included in that. Some committees and commissions already have it, and that might provide a good example. For example, I think Scott Hausler said that they have one for the maybe Parks and Rec, and it changes seasonally. That's great to know, and so this isn't going to be a static thing for them. It may not be a static thing for other committees and commissions. I think we're basically looking for a few pieces of key information that have been outlined in section 5.3, including links to open meeting law, so people understand what open meeting law is and what their obligations are. And then there's some other basic information there. But again, that one's a directive to town manager to coordinate with the liaisons, because I think they're in the best position to implement that.
Okay, so John, that would be on you to maybe review that section and reach out to us as liaisons about how to move forward with the onboarding request, but helpful context there that Parks and Rec might be a really great resource in terms of sharing an example that the liaisons can share with their committees of what that might look like.
I think H. Corey has one too.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there may be more out there than we're aware of. They're not linked on the website. So if you bring on a new member, wouldn't it be nice to just say, go to the webpage, everything you need to get yourself going is right there, including the onboarding packet, right? Like all that structure's there, and you have an onboarding packet as well. So there may be a lot of onboarding packets out there. We just don't know.
And I'm not trying to reach over here on directive on that, but I think that typically another critical input point there is typically HR. It often is a kind of a little bit of a organizational overlay around, exposure, liability, and those types of things. That is picked up by kind of an HR review of what you're doing. Not that they're official staff or employees, but
Right.
it's still a valid overlay.
I think part of this is like, this doesn't have to happen tomorrow. I mean, this is sort of a first step. We know that, to Mary's point, like committees may have really be stretched thin in what they're working on, but this is sort of just to sort of communicate our goals for standardization in certain areas to make it easier to join and get work done. Did you have a comment about onboarding, Allison, or? Yeah. Okay. Just to introduce yourself.
Sorry,
quickly,
Allison Litton, Wilder,
Yeah.
Vermont Sister Cities Committee. I certainly don't want to give your tech people more work, but since a lot of this, at least the beginning part seems to be sort of web-based, if that could be something that maybe the tech person could do and like just go through the websites and just say, yes, they have this, no, they don't. Just a thought.
Kind of an audit, if you will.
Yeah, almost,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
As we sort of move to reformatting, that way
Yeah, no, that's a
Yeah.
great suggestion, John. I don't know, would that be something you're comfortable
Yeah.
with? Yeah, working with JD on, or communicating to your successor to work with JD on? Great, okay.
And I was just gonna add that in terms of having that onboarding packet on the website, I think that also can help with recruitment, because if you are curious about joining a committee right now and you go to the website, there's not a ton. Whereas if you can look at that onboarding information, it could probably give you a lot more details of what it would be like to be on the committee.
Right. Okay.
All right, next one down is really a board practice more than anything else. And I think I spoke in a past meeting about how Rutland City does this pretty effectively. About things come up and they rather than the city council trying to wrap their arms around it, they refer it down to an appropriate committee or commission. This isn't meant to interfere with self-directed work. It's meant to leverage the domain expertise that exists in those bodies. So this is an ongoing thing. We're just sort of for us to keep in mind as a board. Next one down, another green one. The green ones again are sort of more staff-driven, I think. This is what I spoke about earlier. I've got 5 references of public engagement strategy. So when we have items coming up, and this is going to apply to the select board as well. So in terms of like getting our own house in order, this certainly applies to us. We don't have any good strategy. Like Act 181, Tier 1B land use designation stuff was a great example of, it's really dense material, it's buried in a packet, and there's a lot of confusing information floating around at the state level. And the public's going, well, what are you even doing, right? There's a lot of contention around the Tier 3 stuff, and we're talking about Tier 1B locally. We didn't do a great job communicating about it. And part of it was because we weren't sure whether the state was going to pull the whole thing or what was going to happen. But we have to figure out what are the appropriate tools and channels. So if it's a YouTube 3-minute explainer video that someone can click on and get an overview real quick, like the ones with the little dry erase boards, those are great. When does a public forum need to be held, and so on and so forth. So this is meant for the select board as well as committees and commissions. Is something comes up, what are the best practices? What's the framework that we look to guide us in terms of an adequate level of community engagement before we go to the next step. And it ties in again with one of these other ones about the packets, asking committees and commissions to do what the select board does or what the staff does on behalf of the select board, which is create a packet so that everyone can come into the room on the same level footing with information. This may not be super important for some committees and commissions, but those that have technical nature, like Energy Commission, for example, they bring technical information into the room, and it's nice to know what that topic's about. So I got a little off track, but public engagement. So this one's a directive, a proposed directive to the town manager to begin the process of developing some guidelines for engagement that then can be referenced by the select board and its advisory bodies.
Yes, this one I'm wondering if it's a little bit of a different category and maybe closely tied to sort of our 90-day plan with the new town manager.
I will tell you that so far, this seems to be the one that I'm going to, or I would wrestle most with.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fully understanding.
Yeah.
5.5.
Yeah, I think maybe this one, I would suggest, yeah, I think I need a little more time. I think I need a little more time with it as well. And I think Eric, some of our side conversations that we've been having to prepare for initial meetings with Gail as the select board leadership, and not even initial, but looking at our sort of 90-day plan with her, I feel like this is potentially relevant to some of those conversations that are going to be in part full board conversations about what does the board want to highlight as priorities, and in particular around engagement, community engagement, and what that looks like as we kind of develop our working relationship with our new employee. That's my first thought on that one, that maybe this one is.
Yeah, I have no qualms with putting this one on hold and integrating it into a larger set of, because I do think that this will take some time to sort out, and we would, as a board, we would be looking to staff expertise. We have someone on staff now with this type of expertise, and but we don't know what their workload is, right? And it's got to be integrated in with an existing workload. So, yeah, I think that would be perfectly fine. So moving on to 5.6, this is routine maintenance. Again, I don't know how much of this falls to the bodies themselves versus their liaisons, but this is about making sure that the web pages are up to date, and then updating or reviewing and updating the bylaws on some frequency. And this one came out of looking at the tree board's bylaws, which were archaic and also had a lot of concerns reading them. They major structural problems with what's in their bylaws, I believe. And so periodically going back and looking at bylaws is just something that needs to be on someone's calendar. I don't know exactly where that lives. Routine maintenance on two things is what this is about.
Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, as mentioned before, though, it's definitely like there's some level of expertise around like the web stuff. So it's like to the extent that those audits are sort of a cooperative thing with JD and then the commission member at large, whatever, right?
Yeah, so someone just needs to hold that as a, annually, or roughly annually, we look at the webpage and say, yeah, that's, we actually have the right meeting time on it. It's not a meeting time from last year that we've changed, right? Like,
that's why nobody's showing up. They're like coming up the wrong day.
Well, and perhaps we could recommend out of the gate that is in the annual work plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that would be a helpful.
That seems like a place to fold that in.
Yeah, like, okay, in December
Yeah.
or, whatever month.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they can choose the month, of course,
Yeah.
but I
Right.
mean, also maybe if we recommend consistency that they all do it at the same time, but I don't think that matters.
I think that could be just added as bullet points under the work plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That sounds like a good idea, because I was not sure where I was going to live. But, the last 5.7, communication and transparency, and again referencing section 5.7 in the document, which bullet points out some practices. So in fact, the law as well, which is making sure that meeting minutes are posted within it's not 5 business days, it's 5 calendar days of the meeting. Most committees and commissions do a great job of that, but not all. And you've heard from me if you don't do it, because I look at them and notice that they're not there. The problem, however, is if you go out to the Agenda Center right now and look at, for example, Climate Action Steering Team, not to pick on them, but there was a meeting that they didn't have because they had technical difficulties. You see the agenda, you don't see anything else. So the question is, did the meeting get canceled? Did the meeting occur and the meeting minutes weren't posted? Or what actually happened? So what used to happen years ago is a little note would go under there that said, meeting canceled. Or what Matt Osborne does for many of the, where he serves as a liaison, is they don't have quorum, he writes notes. And they're informal, but they still tell you that something happened. And then right at the top of the notes, it says, there wasn't quorum, but here are the people that showed up, and this is what we talked about. We didn't make any decisions because we couldn't. And so as a member of the public, when I go and look at the Agenda Center, I know what happened. And it's not just I'm not just left curious. And this sort of also covers the agenda packet thing. And this is, I think, really important. If we want to let community engage, we've talked about this before, the 3-minute limit when we have public comment is very limiting. And we've got 2 minutes on agenda items. And we said, okay, we're going to pivot and we're going to try to create more listening sessions. That's pretty challenging. Obviously, we've got a full agenda. But community members the public needs to be able to come to committee and commission meetings and provide their input and have confidence that it's heard, it's recorded in the minutes, and they came in with the existing knowledge, like what's this agenda topic about? How can I be on level footing with other people that are in the room? And I don't think we do a great job of that. We haven't for years. It's not a slight against anyone that's on a committee or commission right now. 10 years ago, we weren't doing a great job of this either. But it's time to change that, I think, and it would be useful to the public. I've heard members of the public say, if I'm not going to be heard in this committee, then I'm going to go to the select board. That's not exactly the way we want this to happen, right? We want them to be able to engage at that level, and then that committee bring forth a recommendation based on public input and expertise or whatever. So we need to just, that's among these things. And so this is a directive to the town manager to communicate with staff liaisons. About section 5.7. 5.7 lays out kind of and we may expand that or contract it. We want to hear specifics, but we asked the staff liaisons and they didn't have any objections to what was in there or any additional suggestions.
Right. One bit of input I'd have now is, again, if we're heading toward a motion to adopt these 5 or 6 initiatives, I wonder if it'd be possible for the owner of the document, Eric, to update this cover memo and the underlying document such that I could then be able to forward it to the people I'm going to be communicating with. Kind of here's a final select board document that sets forth what we're hoping to achieve. That would be of great help to me, so I can forward directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yeah, fair enough. So I can try to.
Like the redlining, I think, might put some people off, like a
That I can
finalized.
take care of easily. Confident I can do that.
There's one toggle there, boom.
Right, so I can.
But some of it has been cross-referenced, we just talked about.
Yeah,
a couple
and
of
so,
these
so
things.
maybe I can just do some hyperlinks in the memo, and so that drives you to those sections and then
Yeah.
clean those up. And then if you need more,
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah.
And I would maybe break it up into just these ones that we talked about tonight.
Right,
So
strip
not to
out the rest of the
strip out
document.
the medium and long term, so no one gets overwhelmed or concerned or confused that those have been approved when they haven't yet.
Yeah.
So just really keep it at the ones that we all discussed and agreed on tonight as a board.
I think
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good, so I think we're probably getting close to a motion that would be to move forward with a revised document that highlights only the recommended next steps that we've discussed tonight. Which in particular are basically 5.123. Fours, I guess, can be included, even though that one's for us, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And 7.
And 7.
So moved.
Okay.
Gee, getting all efficient on us.
Okay, we'll count that as a motion for Miranda.
I didn't want to try to
That was a hard motion.
say that one.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second from Ashley. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstain?
I'll abstain.
Okay, thanks, Mary. I think that was 6 ayes, 1 abstention from Mary. Okay.
Meanwhile, I will have JD watch this portion of the meeting. 'cause
Okay.
he'll be- And Ally.
Not,
because
you don't
they'll-
have to
they'll
watch
be
it
the
tonight.
ones, maybe who will be on the front lines of trying to communicate this to the liaisons
Yeah, I think.
and helping implement.
I think we'll be very grateful for his time and support in some of this, digital standardization that we're hoping to accomplish, and with the caveat that, again, we're not setting a very specific timeline on this, maybe we can work on that in the future, but, welcome his input on what's feasible, realistic, and that, this is all part of sort of long-term thinking and planning, and that we understand that, adding something like this to someone's staff plate, committee members' plates, means that it could be a slow-moving process, and that's okay.
I always feel bad when I realize that staff are gonna have to watch like a really long discussion that went all over the place. And I'm
It's
like,
surprising to know how many actually watch all of these meetings.
Yeah.
really? God bless
But
them.
Shout out to you all, thank you.
But there's definitely some low-hanging fruit that could have high impact, right? Like,
Yes.
just getting some things.
It seems like a good hygiene list. I mean, we're starting with pretty basic building blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you, everybody.
Not a lot of emotion in the date of a meeting, we hope.
Yeah, yes. And Allison, appreciate you as well for being here and lending your voice, definitely greatly appreciated. Okay, moving on to, budget guidance discussion. Get there,
Yes.
yes, John, you wanna go ahead? Yeah.
Just the most basic intro to a select board discussion about what you want to discuss tonight and what can be dealt with at a future meeting. But basically, just to remind folks, every year, the select board is expected to provide to staff focusing on department heads, what its guidance is for the subsequent budgeting process. We find ourselves on the cusp of another budget season. And with that in mind, I thought you might want to look at the guidance you provided last year for FY '27. Per request of the board leadership, I did pass that along to department heads, asking if there was any input as to whether we ought to take different approaches or ask the select board to take different approaches. We had a couple of comments which were not, terribly substantive, but you've got those in your packet, one from the fire chief, one from the clerk. Otherwise, pretty much silence from the department heads. So my only recommendation is that the board consider adopting FY '28 budget guidance for staff, which will maybe best facilitate an orderly budget process and focus on preserving and improving town services while at the same time respecting the burdens faced by town's taxpayers, which I'm sure was your intention already.
Right, okay, and I think generally our goal is to issue the FY '28 budget guidance in August, is that right? Okay.
That's generally when it has happened.
Okay, great, so that's why we're putting this on our radar now, so we can, not adopt '28 guidance tonight, but review last year, have initial feedback, comments on last year's, and then
Just to
keep-
put it on your radar.
And then to, bring it back on an agenda in August for approval, yes.
I had a couple of things that I think we discussed during our budget recap process
Yes.
last year. In that, I think it would be really nice if there was a template I'm not sure, maybe a finance director, or if there's like a template that one of the departments already uses that's feels kind of universal. I think that would just like really help with going through all of these presentations and being able to, like, when you go back, being able to find exactly what you were looking for.
Mary Erdi has had the same comment, and it's on my list of things to discuss with Gail. in the
Okay.
next 2 or 3 days.
And then also, I think in that template, it would be nice to see what grants were brought in the previous year, to know, like, just to show, I think, the board, the community, that like, this is not just, our operations are not just funded by solely tax dollars, and that staff are working really hard to apply for opportunities where there are, opportunities for us to get funding from other places. And then also, if there are potential lot items that they're thinking, right, like, it can be included in their budget, but maybe if it feels like a good fit for a lot item, maybe just noting that somewhere in this template. I think that would be like my ideal kind of presentation format.
Miranda, I see all of those, that's really, yeah.
One thing we did learn last year was that if the select board wants to, it can devote all lot funds to property tax relief,
Yeah.
as opposed to individual purchases, which is how we've dealt with lot in the past.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, but I also think there was it got a little muddled in the sense that those two taxes, if you will, are kind of designed differently, right? One is sort of like that initial 1% that we had that shows up, and then
Rooms, meals, and alcohol.
yeah, and then when we went to that other level, it's kind of like, I think we need to re-clarify what that actually means in terms of like where that money should be utilized and how it should be utilized, kind of thing.
Well, the sales tax was adopted with the understanding that it would be applied exclusively to property tax.
Correct, to drive that down.
And the charter says as to the lot, the 1% for rooms, meals, and alcohol, that it can be used in any way that the voters approve.
Correct. And so they are kind of different revenue kind of components for us.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's like a way to know, right, if when we're weighing out something that might be purchased through lot versus what the tax offset would be, maybe our finance director could like give us those numbers.
Yeah,
I don't know how easy that is to calculate or not,
You're
but
in luck because your new town manager
also used to be.
was ankle deep in finance for 9 years here.
Yeah.
And so she kind of can wear two hats along with that of the finance director.
Only ankle deep?
It felt like the neck, I'm sure.
Okay, Eric.
Thank you. So in terms of process, well, back to Miranda's points, it seems like we've got a delineation between guidance on the content of the budget, how the budget is developed, and then guidance on the presentation and delivery, right? There's two sort of separate, and we can sort of sort out how we're gonna provide that to staff. But I think what we're looking for tonight is a point person from the select board who takes any other input from board members and consolidates that into an updated guidance memo that would be discussed on August 4th. We have two potential opportunities to wrap this up, August 4th, and then what's the next meeting after that?
18th.
The 18th, thank you.
Regular meeting.
Right, and last year, I went back and looked, last year we, I think it was like around the 19th or something that we had to hand this thing off, and I think we just sort of scooted in under the deadline. So as far as I can understand, we're really, 18th is sort of our deadline to get this to staff. So what I'm suggesting is that we designate a point person, they sort of consolidate the information and provide an updated memo in next regular meeting agenda packet. Happy to do that, but I'm also happy to let someone else point.
Right, so the requirement for that memo, consolidating the feedback and delivering the memo to John would be by next Thursday, Friday?
Yeah,
Yeah, so end of day next Thursday, the 30th.
Which you would, You won't be here anymore, never mind. I was gonna say we would see you at the workshop that day, so it would be perfect timing.
Dale is attending the workshop on the 30th. Okay.
I could also, Eric, I know you're still working, I don't know.
It's, I think, a pretty simple task unless everyone has.
Yeah, I'll take a simple task.
Okay.
I'll take a simple task.
Well, you'll remember last year, there was quite a lot of back and forth about percentages of increases.
Yeah, I mean, I will invite.
Best case scenario, worst case scenario.
Right.
So I don't know, you can judge best for yourself as to whether that was helpful, not helpful, how it can be tweaked to be more helpful.
I mean, I think one thing, and this maybe goes to more the content of the presentations, I remember being a little bit confused of like, what were the asks versus the wishes? So I think that needs to be really clear in the budget template is, you know, given the guidance of 4%, if that's what we go with, or whatever percent we go with, this is what falls within that. These are the things that may fall outside of that, but this is why I think they're very important. These are things that may fall outside that, which I realize, something to delineate that. So we know exactly what the concrete proposed budget is versus the items that are like, and if possible, this is what I need and why.
What happens with that too, though, and if you've ever watched the school process, which has another layer of obviously all these school, state formula, so on and so forth, but there is something to be said for sort of massaging that back and forth. That is to say, like, they'll say like, well, what does a 0% look like? What does a 2.5% look like? And you kind of, push it back and forth. And what happens with that, obviously, is with enterprise funds versus where that money is sitting, you can have decisions that don't even drive the tax rate, So I think that we should just be thinking about that, where we could fit in that discussion, that dialogue about, all right, well, what if we did this instead of this? And like, where should that conversation lie? For me, I took notes more on like philosophical things around budget development, around, we have these misalignments with labor agreements and budget cycles. We have misalignments with contracts and budget cycles. And I know a lot of these things cannot be cured, but some of them can. And so I think it would be interesting to kind of have broader conversations around, budget development in general, also. As a group, and see if people are like, no, I disagree with you, or yeah, that sounds right, or we should, be working towards that,
Ashley?
Yeah, just a general thought, is that I'm like really struggling with with this idea of like, last year, it was my first budget cycle. And I felt really strongly after campaigning and talking with residents a lot leading up to that process that like I needed to advocate as strong as possible to get the least possible decrease. And coupling that with some of the data that Eric shared during last year's budget cycle about the sustainability of our budget growth compared to our revenue in the lot fund growth, and that we can't always continue to use that lot funding as an offset, that our growth at this pace will outgrow the lot revenues quite quickly. So I guess I felt a sense of urgency last year to reduce the budget. To get the increase as low as possible, accepting that like we're likely not going to be able to see a decrease in the budget, but after serving more time on the board, I also see what a struggle that is for staff and for our initiatives, and so I am kind of carrying both of those perspectives, but I do think that it's worth revisiting. Is a 4% increase the number that we really want to see? Is that something we think that residents can happily, or at least, begrudgingly take? Or do we think that we need to go back and at the very least do what we did last year, which was kind of give that range of, okay, give us your 2.5%, like bare bones, lowest you can go, budget versus your 4% budget. And was that ask confusing or difficult for staff?
I think that one way to inform you as you get to the nitty-gritty of what's the final change from the previous year's budget, a town manager plugged into their colleagues is helpful, because they can find out from all the other communities in the area what they're looking at. And of course, a lot of macroeconomic factors. What's the inflation rate? You know, what's the economic prognosis? Those are all external things that can help guide the conversation.
Yes, John, thank you for that segue. I will send you last year's draft memo, Miranda, so you can, if you wish, use that as a starting point. And I think I have notes on all the indices that I looked at. I came in with something like 3.2, and we sort of discussed it and moved it to 4. But 3.2 is based on like the CPI, is based on the construction cost indexes, just looking at half a dozen different indices. And this year's, you know, who knows what they're gonna look like this year. And it's probably pretty dynamic. So that might be, that might warrant some research as well, to sort of help us zero in on a number based on not just what other towns are doing, but the macro level and strategic sort of perspectives.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So where the stress comes that you were just talking about comes from the following. Most of those indexes are based on the cost of goods, right? I did a bunch of stuff with CPIs, like a basket of goods, and they say, okay, it costs this much this year. The strain and the stress that we're seeing out in our community, and that I've experienced, is that income or revenue does not follow that. And so you have this situation where the stress is, you know, these costs continue to go up, and everybody's out there saying, well, wait a minute, I made 40,000 last year, and this year I still make 40,000, and yet I have to buy groceries and gas and so on. So I think we as a town, you know, I'm feeling very conservative this year for whatever reason. And I'm like literally like level funding 0% scenarios, just because of the stress that we do see out there.
This simple task really
So-
hard.
I just don't think I don't even like necessarily starting with this sort of like overlay of, hey, tell me what 4% looks like. I think we should maybe think about another approach to how we get to a budget that we feel good about.
Well, I hope that you'll share with Miranda your thoughts.
I shall.
Can't wait.
I shall.
And maybe we should, as we're on that topic, define some deadlines, right? So if the memo is due to John on some date.
Will we do to Gail on the 30th?
Oh, sorry, Gail, right. On the 30th, then, you know, let's work that back and let board members know when you need some information from Miranda.
Yeah, I'll send out an email. Happy to meet in person or collect input via email, whatever feels best in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, this is in response to what you're saying, Tim. I think that the reason that we actually started with the 4% is because it was part of the contracts for
Correct.
unions. And so we knew that was the highest point that we could get to and be able to fund all the, you know, the contracts.
Yeah.
And not everybody's in a union, but the ones that we had. And isn't it true that the newer one has a 5%?
It had 5.5 for the 2 years of its duration. So we've just begun the second year.
Right.
So who knows what the new negotiation will be, but I think our expectation would be that those were 2 initial contract years, after which we could get more to regular order, which was at least parity with the other unions. That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
On healthcare is the other big one.
Yeah, we were fortunate last year to get a very small increase, and the odds of getting lucky on health insurance twice in a row strikes me as pretty low.
Do we know when that number comes?
Yes, I think it comes in September, October.
But last year BPR had a preview. They had we think it's going to be this, and it turned out to be a fraction of a percent different. So you can find that information where you can find a projection that's probably pretty solid.
Our carrier has been MVP. The other big one is course, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes, Ashley.
I'll make it quick, but I feel so compelled with this conversation about budgeting for municipal healthcare costs, and also in tandem with the public comment from Jeanette tonight and from Tim. And I also just had an unfortunate experience where I was witnessing, someone having a mental health crisis in my neighborhood this morning. Like, healthcare is the underpinning for so much of the struggles that our community is going through. And I just put on record that any kind of unified campaign that the board would be interested in around advocating for a universal healthcare system or for statewide healthcare support. None of these problems that we're seeing are going to go away if people can't get access to healthcare. And it's like a financial burden to the taxpayers. So just putting it out there that it's all interconnected and healthcare is at the root of a ton of it.
And one thing forefront of my mind is also some of just the requests to add staff that we denied last year. So that's, I imagine there'll be staffing requests that will come before us as part of this budget too, which are a major part of the budget, and it just adds complexity to.
But one thing to always remember is to follow up and ask that department head how many vacancies they have. Doesn't do us much good to fund vacant positions.
Yes.
Yeah, that was helpful last year.
Yeah.
We can hope that they're filled.
Yes, always hoping.
Okay, so it sounds like a next step will be Miranda. We'll hear from Miranda with a deadline for input, and go from there. Okay. Any other final thoughts on this? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.
Of course. All right. If not, then we can go on to commission reports. Anyone? I'll start down here with Mike. Do you have any commissions that met or anything to report, Mike?
Not anything that hasn't already been said. I mean, tree board looking for board members.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I have two.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
Design review, Anna Gunther, who is manager for the filling station, discussed a project to make improvements to the backyard space of the filling station to create a patio with a Vermonty feeling. The space is 30 by 30, but there would be a 20 by 20 white picket fence enclosing the boundary where individuals could congregate. The space would have seating for 16 and some standing space as well, with movable planters as decoration, and string lights would enhance the space at night. The motion was to recommend the proposal to the Planning Commission, and hopefully that they will approve those things. They would not, they're not changing any aspect of the maximum number of people allowed, and people would have to come in through the door and go to the back, and they have to exit the same way. So that was design review. And then tonight's meeting, Sister Cities, Laura Cooney had a video call on July 1st, 2026 with 3 individuals from the Sonone staff, and they discussed plans for the Festival Toute Latitude on November 5th and 6th. That is a Friday and a Saturday, and they are going to feature Hartford area artists, musical artists, and an individual from the culinary school, both students. And then we just debriefed the Hartford block party and updated an ad for a new member, and still are working on getting the costs from Bonnie Arnold from the Red Door signs. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Eric?
I missed a Conservation Commission meeting tonight. It was going on at the same time, so bummer. But they have one vacancy, and they're looking to fill that. It's very dynamic, fun work and commission. And if you're interested, dear members of the public, Matt Osborne might be a contact, or the chair, or me, or the town manager. it's a lot of good and interesting project work that they do. So if you're interested in conservation in Hartford, please consider it.
Thank you. Miranda? No report. Okay, Tim?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, Ashley?
Sure, Resilient, Hartford, I'll just give like a big picture report, because I've been coordinating with Resilient Hartford and Hartford Committee on Homelessness and Housing about the affordability initiative, and so that took up most of the meeting time in both of those most recent meetings. Although I did miss the most recent housing and homelessness meeting, but the meeting prior to that, we talked about ideas for affordability initiatives, possibilities on collaborations with other committees. And yeah, both committees are excited to find ways that they can help relieve tax, Hartford residents, in ways that could, make things more affordable to them or make things more accessible to them. And stay tuned, because Housing and Homelessness will be announcing soon the launch of their Big Little Build program, which they've presented to the board previously. And yeah, I think that sums it up.
Excellent, thanks. And I will just say that the Energy Commission is meeting this week on Thursday. I plan to go, and among other things, the affordability projects are on their agenda too, to prepare for our upcoming summit, I think I've heard it called before, which is exciting, which will be a meeting of a special meeting of the select board with committees and commissions invited to discuss affordability, and we'll be sort of in an exciting new format. It'll be taking place in room 2 across the hall. This is Wednesday, August 12th. And so, yeah, those committees and commissions are invited, as well as members of the public, as always.
Typically, when it's called a summit, it serves exceptional food. I just want to clarify.
No promises on that. We're trying to keep it affordable, Tim. But we'll see. Maybe someone will bring some homemade goodies. All right, thanks all for that. All right, I think we're ready for the consent agenda. Someone willing to take a motion? Okay, thanks, Mary.
Okay. I move that the select board approve payroll ending 7/18/2026, approve the AP manifest of 7/17/2026 and 7/23/2026, approve the meeting minutes of 7/7/2026, 7/9/2026 special meeting, and 7/13/2026 special meeting. Future meetings approved: 7/30/2026 CIP project prioritization workshop, 8/4/2026, 8/12/2026 special meeting, and 8/18/2026.
I'll second that.
Okay, second from Tim. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion passes for the consent agenda. Thank you. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Eric Kraus.
Second.
Second by Miranda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, thank you all.